Well, there you go, a little bit of New York scenery for you. So here I am now vlogging al fresco outside, and you can take a look. This is the outside, so this is where I am. I was talking about the Comey memo and the demands for investigation, so on and so forth, and then these accusations that the Trump campaign colluded with the Russian government to give him the election. They were screaming, the Democrats were, for a special counsel, and they got one. A special prosecutor was appointed, and it'll be Robert Mueller, who served in both the George Bush administration and the Obama administration. And you would think that would start to clear things up and now we can move on, but you would be wrong, because once they got that, well, that wasn't enough. And now the Democrats are calling for a special independent committee of inquiry or a commission or whatever the story is each day. It changes so fast, it's really hard to keep up with it. That just goes to show that it doesn't matter what Trump does, they're going to criticize them anyways. And then I've been reading that they're also teeing up to go after Pence if their fantasy of a Trump impeachment or removal from office comes true, which it won't. But you may be wondering why this is all going on in the first place. And the number that you need to know, it's just a number, is, well, here's the number. I'm standing outside, kind of hard to get it up. This is from 2014. See right there. Okay, just 7% of journalists are Republicans, far fewer than even a decade ago. And maybe fewer than a decade ago, but I would not be surprised if that's fewer than today. So if you do a little math here, okay, 100 minus 793, okay, I come up with 93% of the journalists covering Donald Trump are Democrats. So if you want to know the answer, that's it. And it would answer a lot of questions besides what I've already told you. And for instance, you've got these accusations, say, about a memo from an anonymous source. And it would seem, let's say if you have an anonymous source reporting on what happened in a meeting where the anonymous source was not present, that if you're a good reporter, and I had Journalism 101, believe it or not, they say it's a joke, you know, Journalism 101, but I actually had Journalism 101 many years ago. And what you want to do is, when you get a story like that, you want to check it with the actual participants. So it would seem that if somebody calls up about a memo, that you would want to contact James Comey, contact Donald Trump, contact anybody else who would have direct knowledge. And, well, actually, that's not even true. If you're talking about a physical memo, then you want to see the memo. It's that simple. But if you're talking about somebody supposedly giving away secrets and classified info, well, then you would want to speak to the people who were at that meeting and not the people who are just hearsay. And they didn't do that. And the reason they didn't is because what I just showed you is 93% of them are Democrats, and they're not interested in the story. They're just interested in something that will keep Donald Trump from fulfilling the duties of his office, and from reforming healthcare, and from reforming the tax system, and from cutting down illegal immigration, which he is doing very well, by the way. I just read that arrests are up 38% of illegal immigrants, and illegal immigrants coming into the country, that is down 70%, according to one article that I read. But now, it's not enough that they say that there was this Comey memo. They just jumped to the conclusion right away that this is somehow obstruction of justice. So here we have Jonathan Turley. You've probably heard of him. He's a very liberal law professor at George Washington University, very highly respected by everybody. And here's what he has to say about the whole thing. Okay, take a look there. I got to read it. Jonathan Turley shuts down Joe Scarborough over dubious legal claims. And if I can remember, I will link to an article by him, an opinion piece, where he's saying that nothing that they think, you can say it's inappropriate if you want, but nothing that Donald Trump said rises to the level of obstruction of justice. And you would have thought that honest reporter would have talked to Jonathan Turley, or you have Pete Williams, who is a legal reporter for NBC, and he said that it doesn't look like there's obstruction of justice either. So when you read these kind of stories, take them with a grain of salt, and hopefully they're going to die down now because you have the special prosecutor that the Democrats themselves have asked for, so they've got one. And now if people ask about what's going on, then the answer is there's a special prosecutor looking into it and we cannot comment. And then if you get any more leaks about supposedly what's going on, it would have to have come from the special prosecutor's office. And I doubt that that's going to happen, not with a guy like Mueller in charge, number one. Number two, they would take it very seriously if there were a leak, just as the Justice Department is. Another article I read, they're taking this very seriously. They're going to hunt down whoever is leaking, and they're going to be prosecuted to the full extent, I hope, of the law. Because, number one, this is the thing that people miss. Donald Trump, the president, has the right to declassify information. So however inappropriate someone might think it was, he had the right to do what he did. He did nothing illegal. That's number one. But number two, whoever leaked that story, they did reveal classified information, and they did not have the authority to do that. Only the president has the authority to do that. And, well, we'll see. I hope they catch the SOBs who did it. And I hope that someday we'll have a functioning government where the opposition is just that, the opposition, not the resistance, but the loyal opposition, and we could get back to serving the American people, who elected, by the way, Donald Trump president to do exactly what he is doing. And finally, this thought, a thought that one would think would be obvious, but seems to have eluded the 93% of the press that are liberal Democrats and the entire left wing of the Democratic Party, which seems to be these days all that is left of the Democratic Party, and that is the question of motive. The question of why Donald Trump would work with the Russians to elect him, Donald Trump, President of the United States. Now, if you're one of these 93% of the press that are Democrats, then you'd probably say, well, obviously it's to win the election. But to everybody else, we know the truth. And the truth is that Donald Trump did not need the Russians to defeat Hillary Clinton. Did not need it in 2016, will not need it in 2020 if the Democrats are dumb enough to run her again. So, and I sincerely hope that they do. And hopefully that would put the matter to rest, but I don't think so. I think the Democrats are just in denial, and they just can't understand. And first of all, you had a very flawed candidate, a known quantity for 10 years, and worse than that, you had a left-wing candidate who ran a left-wing campaign in a center-right country. And this is the primary fact that Democrats and liberals especially cannot seem to accept, that liberalism will never be the governing philosophy in the United States of America. Have a nice day.